The triplet screams pierced the air like a siren, shattering the pristine silence of Clara Beaumont's $20 million Connecticut mansion. By 7 a.m., the third nanny of the week had fled, her suitcase half-packed, muttering about demon children, as she sprinted to her car. Clara, standing at the foyer window, watched her go, her jaw tight, her heart heavier than the crystal chandelier above her. Clara Beaumont, 34, was a name that commanded boardrooms and headlines. A tech billionaire who'd built an empire from a single app, she was untouchable except at home. Her 3 5-year-old triplets, Leo, Mia, and Theo, were a hurricane of chaos no nanny could tame. Each one was a spark of brilliance and rebellion, their tantrums as unpredictable as a stock market crash. Clara's wealth could buy private jets, but not patience, not peace, not someone who could handle her children. She turned from the window, her tailored blazer creasing as she rubbed her temples. Another failure. Another day alone. Then came the knock at the door. Elena Harper stood on the mansion steps, clutching a dented cookie tin like a shield. At 28, she was no stranger to hard knocks, raised in foster homes, scraping by as a baker in a small New Haven shop. Her hazel eyes scanned the towering estate, half expecting to be turned away. She wasn't the typical nanny candidate. No elite credentials, no polished resume. Just a Craigslist ad response and a stubborn hope that her love for kids and her grandmother's cookie recipe might be enough. Her braid swung as she adjusted her worn sweater, nerves buzzing. She'd heard the rumors. No nanny lasted a day with the Beaumont triplets. But Elena had survived worse. Clara opened the door, her blue eyes sharp, assessing. "You're the new nanny?" Her voice was cool, clipped like she'd already written Elena off. The air between them crackled, not with warmth but with challenge. Elena nodded, offering a small smile, holding out the cookie tin. "I brought these. Kids usually like them." Clara raised an eyebrow, unimpressed, but took the tin. "They're not ordinary kids," she warned, stepping aside to let Elena in. The foyer gleamed with marble and gold, but the distant sound of a vase crashing told Elena the real test was upstairs. She squared her shoulders. She wasn't here for Clara's approval, she was here for the kids. Upstairs, the triplets were a whirlwind. Leo, with Clara's piercing blue eyes, was smearing paint on the walls. Mia, her curls wild, was dismantling a pillow, feathers flying like snow. Theo, the quietest, sat in a corner, stacking blocks with eerie precision, only to knock them down with a scowl. Elena didn't flinch. She knelt, opened the cookie tin, and let the warm scent of cinnamon and vanilla fill the room. 3 pairs of eyes snapped to her. "Who are you?" Leo demanded, paint dripping from his fingers. "I'm Elena," she said, calm but firm. "And these are magic cookies. Want to try one?" Mia narrowed her eyes. "Magic's not real." "Try one and see," Elena challenged, holding out a cookie. Mia hesitated, then grabbed it. Leo followed, then Theo, who sniffed it first. For a moment, silence fell, a miracle in itself. Clara, watching from the doorway, felt something shift in her chest. No nanny had ever gotten this far. Elena spent the morning wrangling chaos with a quiet grace that baffled Clara. When Leo threw a block, Elena caught it midair, turning it into a game. When Mia screamed, Elena whispered a story about a pirate princess, calming her tantrum. Theo, usually unreachable, let Elena sit beside him, showing her his block towers. By noon, the kids were laughing, not fighting, and Clara was staring, her coffee forgotten. "You're different," Clara said, almost to herself, as they stood in the kitchen. Elena was wiping cookie crumbs off the counter, her movements steady, unhurried. "Kids aren't that complicated," Elena replied, glancing up. "They just need someone to see them." Clara's throat tightened. She hadn't been seen in years, not since her wife left, unable to handle the triplets or Clara's relentless ambition. Now this stranger with a cookie tin was unraveling her defenses. Elena's warmth, her ease, felt dangerous. Clara didn't do vulnerability. Yet, as Elena smiled, her hazel eyes catching the light, Clara felt a pull she couldn't name. The day wasn't without its storms. By afternoon, Mia had a meltdown over a missing toy. Leo climbed a bookshelf and Theo refused to eat. Elena handled each crisis with a mix of firmness and kindness, never raising her voice. Clara, used to barking orders, watched in awe. She caught herself lingering, noticing the way Elena's braid slipped over her shoulder, The way her laugh seemed to soften the mansion's cold edges. As evening fell, the triplets were impossibly asleep. Elena sat on the living room floor, surrounded by scattered toys, looking exhausted but content. Clara joined her, holding 2 glasses of wine. "You survived," Clara said, handing her one. Her tone was lighter, almost teasing. "Barely," Elena laughed, taking a sip. Their fingers brushed and a spark shot through Clara's veins. She pulled back, startled. Elena noticed but said nothing, her gaze steady, searching. "You're good with them," Clara admitted, her voice softer now. "No one's ever stayed." Elena tilted her head. "Maybe no one's tried hard enough." The words hit Clara like a wave. She wanted to argue, to retreat behind her walls, but Elena's presence was a quiet force, pulling her closer. For the first time in years, Clara felt seen, not as a billionaire, not as a failure of a mother, but as a woman raw and aching. The cookie tin sat on the coffee table, a small stubborn symbol of hope. Neither knew it yet, but this was only the beginning. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of laughter, a sound so foreign in her home it felt like an intrusion. She followed it to the kitchen, where Elena was flipping pancakes with the triplets perched on stools, their faces smudged with flour. Leo was narrating a wild story about a dragon. Mia was giggling and Theo, usually silent, was clapping. Clara leaned against the doorway, her heart clenching. This was what she'd dreamed of when she'd adopted the triplets after her marriage crumbled. A family. A home. But dreams didn't survive reality, or so she'd thought. Elena glanced up, catching Clara's gaze. "Morning," she said, her smile easy, unguarded. "Want a pancake? They're not magic, but they're pretty good." Clara hesitated, then slid onto a stool. "I don't usually eat breakfast," she admitted, but took a bite anyway. The warmth of the pancake, the chaos of the moment, felt like a gift she didn't deserve. Elena's presence was disarming, her energy a quiet rebellion against Clara's tightly controlled world. The day unfolded with a rhythm Clara hadn't known was possible. Elena turned the triplets' energy into projects, painting a mural on paper, not walls, building a fort from couch cushions, even convincing Theo to try a new food, carrots of all things. Clara, working from her home office, found herself distracted, stealing glances at Elena through the glass doors. The way Elena knelt to tie Mia's shoe, the way she listened to Leo's endless questions, the way her laugh filled the housesite was intoxicating and terrifying. By midday, Clara's assistant called with urgent news. A board meeting had been moved up, and she needed to prepare. Clara's instinct was to shut down, to bury herself in work, but Elena's voice cut through her thoughts. "You okay?" she asked, standing at the office door, a glass of water in hand. Clara blinked, caught off guard. "Just work," she said, waving it off. Elena didn't push. Instead, she set the water down and said, "The kids want to show you their fort. 5 minutes won't kill the empire, right?" Clara almost laughed, a rare sound. She followed Elena to the living room, where the triplets had built a sprawling fort of blankets and pillows. They dragged her inside, and for a moment Clara was just a mom, not a CEO. Elena sat cross-legged beside her, their shoulders brushing in the cramped space. Clara's pulse quickened, and she cursed herself for it. She wasn't supposed to feel this way, not for the nanny, not for anyone. That evening, as the triplets watched a movie, Clara and Elena cleaned the kitchen. The silence between them was comfortable but charged, like the air before a storm. "Why do you do this?" Clara asked suddenly. "This job. It's hell." Elena paused, drying a plate. "Kids like yours. They remind me of me. I grew up in foster care. No one stuck around long enough to see me. I want to be that person for them." Clara's chest tightened. She wanted to ask more, to know everything about this woman who'd stormed into her life with cookies and courage. But vulnerability was a language she'd forgotten. Instead, she said, "You're good at it." Elena smiled, but there was a flicker of sadness in her eyes. "Thanks. But it's not just about being good. It's about staying." The word hung between them. Staying. Clara hadn't stayed for anyone since her wife left, and no one had stayed for her. Yet here was Elena, day 2, still here, still fighting for her kids. And maybe, just maybe, for her. The moment was shattered by a scream. Leo, upset that the movie ended. Elena handled it with her usual calm. But Clara saw the exhaustion in her eyes. She wanted to reach out to help, but her phone buzzed a reminder of the board meeting. Duty called as always. She retreated to her office, leaving Elena to the chaos, hating herself for it. By the end of the week, Elena had survived 5 days a record. The triplets adored her, calling her Lena, with a warmth that stung Clara's heart. But the pull between Clara and Elena was growing harder to ignore. A brush of hands while passing a dish, a shared laugh over the kids' antics, a glance that lingered too long. Each moment was a spark, threatening to ignite something Clara wasn't ready for. On Friday night, after the triplets were asleep, Elena found Clara in the study, staring at a laptop screen. "You work too much," Elena said, leaning against the doorframe. Clara closed her laptop, meeting Elena's gaze. "And you care too much." "Maybe," Elena said, stepping closer. "But someone has to." The air crackled. Clara's heart pounded, torn between fear and want. Elena was close enough to touch, her hazel eyes searching, fearless. For the first time in years, Clara didn't look away. The mansion felt alive now, its sterile halls warmed by Elena's presence. 2 weeks in, and the triplets were differentless, like tiny tornadoes, more like kids finding their way. Clara noticed it in the small things. Mia's tantrums were shorter, Leo's defiance softened, and Theo spoke more, his voice a quiet gift. But it was Clara who was changing most, and that scared her to death. Elena had become a fixture, her cookie tin a permanent resident on the kitchen counter. She brought structure to the chaos. Morning art projects, afternoon story time, evenings of board games that even Clara joined when she could. But every moment with Elena felt like a tightrope walk. Clara caught herself staring at Elena's hands as she braided Mia's hair, or the way her sweater hugged her frame when she laughed. It was maddening. Clara was a woman of control, yet Elena was unraveling her, one smile at a time. One rainy afternoon, the triplets were nipping a rare miracle. Clara found Elena in the library, curled up with a book, her braid loose and messy. The sight stole Clara's breath. "You read?" Clara asked, immediately regretting the dumb question. Elena laughed, marking her page. "When I get a chance." "You?" Clara shrugged, sitting across from her. "Not since. Before the kids." She didn't say before her wife left, but the weight of it hung there. Elena's eyes softened like she understood. "Tell me about her," Elena said gently. "Their mom." Clara froze. No one asked about her ex-wife, not anymore. The divorce had been a quiet scandal, buried under NDAs and Clara's iron will. But Elena's gaze was steady, not prying, just open. Clara exhaled, the words spilling out before she could stop them. Her name was Rachel. She couldn't handle the triplets. Or me, I guess. She left when they were 2. Elena listened, her silence a safe space. When Clara finished, Elena said, "That sounds lonely." Clara's throat burned. It was. They sat there, rain pattering against the windows, the air thick with unspoken truths. Clara wanted to reach for Elena's hand, to feel the warmth of someone who stayed. But fear stopped her. She was a billionaire, untouchable, yet terrified of this woman who saw her so clearly. The moment passed, but the tension didn't. It grew with every shared glance, every accidental touch. Clara tried to bury it in work, but Elena was everywhere, in the kids' laughter, in the cookies on the counter, in the quiet moments when Clara felt human again. She hadn't felt human in years. Then came the crisis. On Elena's 3rd week, Clara's company faced a PR nightmare, a data breach. Headlines screaming betrayal. Clara was a storm of stress, snapping at her team, barely sleeping. The triplets, sensing her tension, reverted to chaos. Leo broke a lamp, Mia refused to eat, and Theo withdrew completely. Elena handled it, but Clara saw the strain in her eyes. That night, Clara found Elena in the kitchen, baking to calm her nerves. The smell of cookies filled the air, grounding Clara in a way nothing else could. "You don't have to do this," Clara said, her voice raw. "You could leave. Everyone else does." Elena set down her mixing bowl, her gaze fierce. "I'm not everyone else." Clara's walls cracked. She stepped closer, close enough to smell the vanilla on Elena's skin. "Why do you stay?" she whispered. "Because I see you," Elena said simply. "All of you." The words broke something in Clara. She reached out, her hand trembling, and touched Elena's cheek. Elena didn't pull away. For a moment they stood there, the world fading to just them two women, raw and real, on the edge of something unstoppable. Then Mia's cry shattered the silence. Duty called as always. But as Elena went to soothe her, Clara knew this wasn't just about the kids anymore. It was about them. The data breach consumed Clara's days, but Elena was her anchor. By the fourth week, the mansion wasn't just a house site, it was a home, messy and loud and alive. The triplets thrived under Elena's care, their laughter a soundtrack Clara hadn't known she needed. But the pull between Clara and Elena was a fire now, impossible to ignore. One evening after a grueling day of damage control, Clara came home to find Elena and the triplets in the backyard, chasing fireflies. Elena's laugh rang out, her hair glowing under the twilight. Clara stood frozen, watching her kids and this woman who'd changed everything. She wanted to join them, to let go, but fear clung to her like a shadow. What if she let Elena in only to lose her? Elena noticed her, waving her over. "Come catch some," she called, her smile bright. Clara hesitated, then kicked off her heels and joined them, the grass cool under her feet. Leo shoved a jar in her hands, and for once, Clara wasn't the billionaire, just a mom, laughing with her kids and a woman who made her heart race. Later, as the triplets slept, Clara and Elena sat on the patio, sharing a blanket against the chill. The silence was soft, intimate. "You're good for them," Clara said, her voice low. "For us." Elena's eyes met hers, searching. "And you? What's good for you?" Clara's breath caught. No one asked her that. She was the one who provided, who fixed, who survived. But Elena's question cracked her open. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Elena reached for her hand, her touch warm, steady. "Maybe it's okay to find out." Clara didn't pull away. Their fingers laced and the world shifted. It wasn't a kiss, not yet, but it was a promise, a spark of something real. Clara's heart pounded, torn between joy and terror. She hadn't loved since Rachel, hadn't believed she could. But Elena was different. Elena stayed. The next day, disaster struck. Clara's ex-wife, Rachel, called, demanding to see the triplets. She'd heard about the data breach, saw it as a chance to question Clara's fitness as a mother. The call was a knife to Clara's chest, reopening old wounds. She didn't tell Elena, didn't want to burden her, but Elena sensed the change. "What's wrong?" she asked, finding Clara in her office staring at nothing. Clara told her everything: Rachel's abandonment, the divorce, the fear of losing her kids. Elena listened, her hand resting on Clara's arm, grounding her. "You're enough," Elena said fiercely. "For them. For anyone." Clara wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed. Rachel's visit loomed, and Clara braced for a fight. Elena stayed close, her presence a quiet strength. When Rachel arrived, she was all charm and venom, her smile sharp as she criticized Clara's parenting. The triplets, confused, clung to Elena, not their mother. Rachel noticed, her eyes narrowing. "Who's this?" she asked, her tone icy. "The nanny," Clara said, but the word felt wrong. Elena was so much more. Rachel's visit ended in a tense standoff with no resolution. But it left Clara shaken, doubting herself. That night, Elena found her on the balcony, staring at the stars. "You're not alone in this," Elena said, stepping close. "I'm here." Clara turned, her eyes wet. "For how long?" "As long as you'll let me," Elena said, and this time Clara didn't hold back. She pulled Elena close, their lips meeting in a kiss that was desperate, tender, everything. The world fell away, leaving only them two women finding each other in the chaos. The kiss changed everything. Clara woke the next morning feeling lighter, like she'd shed a weight she'd carried for years. Elena was still there, making breakfast with the triplets, her smile a quiet promise. But the shadow of Rachel's visit lingered, and Clara knew the fight wasn't over. Over the next week, Clara and Elena navigated their new reality. Stolen glances became stolen kisses, whispered conversations became late-night talks. The triplets noticed the shift, their giggles proof they approved. "Lena's our favorite," Mia declared one morning, and Clara's heart swelled. Elena wasn't just the nanny anymore, she was family. But Rachel wasn't done. She filed for custody, citing Clara's unstable lifestyle. The news hit like a tidal wave. Clara spent hours with lawyers, her fear of losing the triplets consuming her. Elena stayed by her side, her presence a lifeline. "We'll fight this," Elena said, her voice fierce. "Together." The custody hearing was a battlefield. Rachel painted Clara as cold, distracted, unfit. But Elena took the stand, her words steady and true. She spoke of Clara's love for her kids, her sacrifices, her growth. She spoke of the home they built together, the laughter, the cookies, the love. The triplets, in their own way, echoed her, telling the judge about Lena's magic cookies, and how their mom was always there, even when she was scared. Clara watched, tears in her eyes, as Elena fought for her for them. She'd never had someone stand by her like this, unwavering, unafraid. When the judge ruled in Clara's favor, citing her stable home and the triplets' clear love for her, Clara felt the world right itself. Rachel left, defeated, and Clara knew she wouldn't be back. That night, the mansion was quiet, the triplets asleep. Clara and Elena sat on the couch, the cookie tin between them, now a symbol of everything they'd built. "You saved us," Clara said, her voice thick with emotion. Elena shook her head, her hand finding Clara's. "We saved each other." Clara looked at her. This woman who'd walked into her life with a cookie tin and changed everything. She saw a future not just for the triplets but for them. A family messy and real. "I love you," Clara said, the words raw, honest. Elena's smile was radiant. "I love you too." They kissed, soft and sure, the cookie tin glinting in the lamplight. The triplets' laughter would wake them tomorrow, the chaos would continue, but they'd face it together. No nanny had survived a day with the Billionaire's Triplets until Elena arrived, with a cookie tin and a heart big enough to hold them all. And in that love they found something stronger than chaos. A home, a family, a forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.